gun in his hand. He was obviously immediately taken into custody. I talked to an employee who was in the restaurant at the time. Take a listen to what he told me.
Reckless, senseless, and, you know, I come here to work because I try to have a job and work a decent job every day, and I mind my business. But you can't come in a place where people just shoot it up.
Yeah, so again, back out here live. We're just across the street. This is Marietta Street, right near the intersection of Broad Street in downtown Atlanta. You might be looking at the shot there. The Summit Cafeteria, they closed for the day after this. They boarded up and decided, you know what, let's try again tomorrow. They were only open for about an hour and 45 minutes when all of this unfolded. We also spoke to another witness who was actually inside as well. He was eating breakfast or finishing up eating breakfast, and he just said that it was crazy to be in there. He mentioned just watching all of this unfold. He saw the fight. He said apparently there was a security guard who was actually in there. They actually did not break up that fight, according to that witness. He said that security guard probably should have intervened, and that would have maybe have stopped the shooting. But obviously that's too soon to tell, as we're waiting on Atlanta police to give us some more information about what exactly happened here. Some of the big questions we're waiting to get answered. Who is this suspect? We know he was taken into custody. Georgia State University police officers saw him coming out of the restaurant, had a handgun with him. He was immediately taken into custody. He was cuffed, taken to Atlanta Police Department headquarters, where they're obviously talking with him. According to Atlanta police, they do have pending charges against this suspect. So far, we don't know what those charges are. We also don't know that suspect's name. We're obviously working to get those details, and hopefully within the next few hours, we'll be able to learn those details and bring it to you here on Fox Local and fox5atlanta.com. And then obviously tomorrow, looking ahead, he'll likely have his first court appearance here in Paulding County at about 11 a.m. Ariel?
Tyler, thanks so much for the update. You know, looking at this story, it's remarkable that police deployed such a large search presence to make sure that there were no other suspects involved. And also interesting to try to understand, how did this fight even get started in the first place? And just the description you had of that woman ultimately being shot. I mean, it's easy now to understand why she's facing critical injuries.
Oh, yeah, 100%. She said that the employee of the restaurant told us that that suspect shot that woman once and then stood over her and shot her 2 more times. We were hearing reports that she was possibly shot in the head, according to one witness. That has not been confirmed by Atlanta police, but we obviously know that she is facing critical injuries. At last check, she was rushed to the hospital. I do also want to mention one other part of what you said, where there was a huge police presence. Well, that probably was in part due to the fact that just on the other side of this restaurant is the MARTA station. So people could have, another suspect, if there was another suspect involved, could have gotten on board a train and gotten out of this area quickly, or gotten on a bus. So obviously they partnered with MARTA police and a number of other agencies in this area to make sure that they could have a clear understanding of what happened before they wrapped up this crime scene about 2 or 3 hours after the shooting happened here.
Tyler, thank you so much for the update. Absolutely incredible situation. I know that you're going to keep information gathering, and as you get any new information from Atlanta police, you'll let us know right here on Fox Local. So, Tyler, I'll let you get back to it. Thank you so much for your help this afternoon. Thanks, Tyler. Okay, guys, let's move on to another story that we're following here in the Fox 5 newsroom today. And it involves Gwinnett County firefighters saying multiple people were rescued from a burning apartment complex building near Duluth overnight. This is just an incredible situation because 26 units were involved in that, or affected in that fire. Our Ray Urena has been following up on this, and he joins us live to give us an overview of where things stand. So, Ray, what's happening this afternoon?
Well, Ariel, first and foremost, thankfully, Gwinnett County firefighters tell us that everyone who was in those apartments at the time that this fire sparked are expected to be okay, and that's the good news. But let's go back to the beginning and tell you all how it started. Gwinnett County firefighters say that it started at just about before midnight, actually. They say they started getting multiple calls about smoke in an apartment building. And firefighters say that when they arrived, they they saw people who were trapped on the upper floors and were able to rescue a total of 8 people. And officials say no other injuries were reported, and firefighters say the 28-unit apartment building was fully evacuated due to concerns about its structural stability following that fire. The American Red Cross says volunteers with the disaster action team responded and have assisted 9 families, which they say is a total of 22 people. And here's what they say they offered to those people who were displaced by this fire. Take a listen.
They provided immediate assistance, comfort kits, and recovery planning. And sometimes those can be things that you don't even think about that the Red Cross is helping out with, things like eyeglasses, medications, CPAP machines, and really providing hope, comfort, and care to folks that are going through such a tough time.
And firefighters tell us that the cause of the fire is still under investigation. And out of the 28 units in that apartment complex, like you mentioned earlier, Ariel, 26 of those, the property management company has confirmed that 26 of those were occupied. And earlier today and earlier this afternoon, I did speak with a man off camera who came back 12 hours after, his home was starting to catch some fire. His unit wasn't directly affected, but he tried to get back in his unit earlier this afternoon, and he told me in Spanish that he wasn't allowed to go back in, Ariel.
Ray, my heart just goes out to these people, because if you've ever lived through something like this, it is so scary and traumatic. And obviously there's some due diligence firefighters still have to do, and officials, to make sure it's safe for people to enter maybe some of those units, even if they weren't affected by the actual flames or smoke. I also know water damage is a really common concern, because as you're trying to put out the fire, there's so much water being sprayed to tackle that, and often it ends up affecting other places. So I'm glad the American Red Cross is helping, and I hope these people are able to get back on their feet.
Yeah, absolutely, Ariel. And I'm glad that you mentioned the water, because during that, when the firefighters first responded, obviously they went on the offense trying to attack any sort of flames that they had. But usually when it comes to an apartment fire kind of like this, they start offensively and then start going defensively, trying to flush out any hot spots or any of those hot burning remaining pieces of wood. And neighbors told me that even if they weren't there initially right after the fire broke out, even hours later, 8, 9, 10 hours later, they can still smell that burning wood. So we have seen a fire engine or two driving into the entrance of the apartment complex. That's over to my right shoulder over here. We have seen 1 or 2 of them just following up, just driving by and making sure everything's okay, but they usually turn around and come back out after 5 minutes. So it looks like everything is under control. But like I said, one man that we spoke to, speaking in Spanish, prefers to speak Spanish, told me that he cannot get into his unit right now, and firefighters are not letting him at this time.
Ray, I'm so glad you were able to speak to him and have that connection and be able to understand what he was going through. Thanks for bringing this story to our attention, and I know that you'll continue to keep us updated throughout the day as you get anything new. So, Ray, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Guys, we're going to move on here, because like I promised at the top of the 2 o'clock hour when we were just starting roughly 10 minutes ago, right now President Trump is addressing reporters live from the podium at the White House briefing room. He's holding the press briefing today. The president started his news briefing by talking about some of the alleged dangerous criminals that ICE has gotten off the streets in Minnesota and other places. I'm not sure what the president is speaking about at this current moment, so let's go ahead and listen in live together and see what he has to say.
Drug prices by as much as 300, 400, 500, and even 600%, including with Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Eli Lilly, Nova Nordisk, Gilead Sciences, EMD, Serenio, and many others. If you look at some of the prices that are coming down, where a price would come down $1,300 coming down to $87. Think of it. So something that was costing $1,300 is now costing $87. And the fake news doesn't want to write about it. That's why I do this. I don't like to do this, to be honest with you. But I do it because got to get the word out. We signed one big, beautiful bill. I call it the Great Big Beautiful Bill, delivering the largest tax cuts in history. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. We made interest on car loans tax deductible for U.S.-built automobiles only. So if you buy an automobile built in the United States, we're not doing it for Germany and Canada and different places. We're doing it only if it's built here. We want them to be built here. A lot of the Canadian auto plants are closing and they're moving into the United States. Same thing with Mexico, same thing with Germany, and same thing with Japan and other countries. They're moving into the United States because of tariffs, because they don't want to pay the tariffs. It's too much. They can't pay the tariffs. So they're coming here. Nothing different than what other smart countries did, but it works better for us. Under my leadership, it's not done properly, but it's done properly. We have, again, more plants being built than at any time in the history of our country. Passed the largest spending cuts in American history, and that was true in my first. We had a tremendous first term also. We rebuilt our military. We had one of the best. We had the best economy in the history of our country, but we're blowing it away now. When this stuff starts opening up, you're not going to see anything like it probably ever again. We slashed the federal budget deficit by 27% in a single year. Think of that, 27. You could do it 2%, 1%, 0.5%, 27%. And that's with all of the things we have to do, all of the people we have to put on the payroll to get rid of people that are murderers. Again, when you see people in Minnesota that are murderers, these people are fighting to keep them there. And I say to Christie and to Tom Homan, the great people, they're working so hard. Look at the border. The border is now secure. First time, Biden said you couldn't do it. You need legislation. I had no legislation. I said close the border. Within 1 month, we had almost nobody coming in. Now for the last 8 months, nobody came into our country illegally. And I find that hard to believe, because you'd think somebody, because it used to be millions of people just poured into our country. And the people that do that are Democrat sort of aligned. So, I mean, they're not doing me any favors. We had nobody come in. We have a very strong border. We have very few people coming up. They're not going to make the trek because they know they probably won't be coming in. So it's not as hard as you think. But I didn't have to go back. Remember, they said, we need legislation to close the border. They had millions of people coming in a month. We have nobody coming in, and we're getting the murderers out. Murderers, people from prisons and jails. Many countries opened up their prisons and dropped them into the United States. Those are the people we're getting out. And we have a lot of heart. They said, you got to lighten up on this. We have a lot of heart for people. They came in illegally, but they're good people, and they're working now on farms, and they're working in luncheonettes and hotels and all. And we're looking to get the criminals out right now, the criminals. And I think it's very important. I mean, every once in a while you see a story, we take somebody. He should be out because they came in illegally. So in theory, they should be. But we're focused on the murderers, the drug dealers, the mentally insane. We have a lot of mentally insane killers. I mean, you can't even talk to them. It'd be nice if you could have a little reason, but you can't even reason. These are seriously ill people. You have a couple of countries where they were loaded up. Their mental institutions and insane asylums were loaded to the gills. They couldn't get. They're empty now. But they're filling up because we're bringing them all back. We know where they came from.
You're listening to President Donald Trump address the media live from the White House briefing room this afternoon. We're just listening in live to the president as he holds the White House press briefing today before he leaves for Switzerland tonight to speak at the World Economic Forum tomorrow. The president was discussing a variety of issues, including he started off by talking about some alleged criminals he says ICE has arrested. He also spoke about what his his administration is doing to lower drug prices. The president also addressed tariffs. So let's talk about that, okay? Because we have a new report that may come as a surprise to some of you, or maybe not a surprise. Let me know how you feel in our chat. We have it going here on YouTube and TikTok. But a new report says that Americans are footing the bill for President Donald Trump's tariff. So let's get into it, because as of today, so far the Supreme Court issued 3 decisions. They did not decide the legality of the president's tariffs, and that's been the ruling we've all been waiting for. Is the president exceeding his constitutional authority by putting these tariffs into place? The Supreme Court did not announce a date for when it would issue that ruling. It doesn't announce which rulings are going to be released and when in advance, so this is nothing new, but that ruling we have been expecting has still not come down yet. So let's get into this new report that talks about the costs that Americans are paying. One of the things when we look at this is that despite claims that foreign exporters are sending goods to America and would reduce the prices to offset some of these tariffs costs, this new report from the Kiel Institute for World Economy, okay, so Kiel Institute for World Economy is the one issuing this new report, says that American consumers and American importers have paid 96% of the tariffs, with only 4% paid by foreign exporters. The White House says the tariffs would reduce the deficit and also possibly allow people, many people, to get a $2,000 check. But the tariffs have only brought in $200 billion. And I say only because of the size of our deficit and our national debt. Did it improve government finances? Let's take a look. The United States ran a deficit of about $1.7 trillion in 2025. That's 8.5 times greater than the tariffs took in for the whole year. So the impact on the deficit is minor. When we look at this compared to the U.S. national debt of $38+ trillion overall, it's like a firecracker thrown at the sun. And that's according to a Santa Clara University marketing professor who sees this $200 billion in tariff revenue another way. Kirthi Kalyanam says the fact that the number is so small actually points to the success of American importers finding other ways to bring their products to the United States. If they didn't find other ways to bring their products into the United States, that tariff revenue would be much, much higher. Many, if not most, United States companies quickly look to other less tariff countries to get their goods and services rather than making it here domestically. As we continue to look at this, the fear is that the American consumer will continue to foot this bill. So that is something that we're going to keep an eye on for you. But in the meantime, I also want to talk about affordability, because this is an issue, as you know, both Republicans and Democrats are closely monitoring ahead of the midterm elections. Both parties trying to get your vote by showing they're going to make your life more affordable. Imagine dipping into your retirement funds with no penalties, okay? That is a new plan President Trump is teasing to help potential home buyers. It's no secret the White House is facing this pressure to bring down prices. So this new affordability plan from the Trump administration would allow Americans to use their 401k for a down payment on a home. You typically cannot withdraw money from this account without it being penalized by the IRS. And housing affordability remains a top issue for voters. Mortgage rates are high and home prices have sidelined a lot of potential buyers. Democrats say this is a top priority ahead of the midterm elections in November, just like Republicans have said as well. So President Trump has been introducing a number of proposals to reduce costs, including banning institutional investors from buying single-family homes earlier this month. The president also directed mortgage backers Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to purchase $200 billion in mortgage bonds in order to lower the rates. But recent consumer inflation has showed that housing inflation does remain really strong. Some Republicans have said that their party has to do a better job with messaging. We know that the president is expected to discuss this new housing plan at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, this week. He is expected to speak tomorrow, and like I said, we'll be heading to Switzerland tonight. But speaking of Switzerland, let's get into some international news as we take a look at where we are headed with the conversation on Greenland. The president is headed towards the World Economic Forum, where we know Greenland is sure to dominate many of the conversations. It's nearly 3,000 miles away, Greenland is, from Miami, and that's where the president spent last night watching watching the National College Football Championship. But one of the things as we continue to look at this situation is that the president plans to impose a 10% tariff on European allies who block his plan to purchase Greenland. And it could go up. Those tariffs could go from 10 to 25%, a threat that's already been causing a stir at the World Economic Forum as it started earlier this week. France's president has said that this is a very troubling development, and he doesn't think that tariffs should be used as leverage against territorial sovereignty, and he says it's unacceptable. Meanwhile, America's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said everyone needs to take a deep breath and not retaliate. The president insists the United States needs to control Greenland for national security needs. Some experts for the military do agree, pointing out that we have major adversaries in Russia and in China, both of which have their intercontinental ballistic missiles pointed at the United States. And the quickest way to get them here would be across that island of Greenland. But many other critics believe the United States should work with Denmark and not take the territory by force. We will continue to keep an eye on this situation. And again, keep in mind, if the Supreme Court were to issue a ruling basically negating the constitutionality of the president's tariffs, he may not be able to impose these anyway. But if they were not to do that or not in time, these would go into effect. So that's where we stand with that issue. Really quickly, I want to get you also an update. I know some people have been asking about where we stand with Iran. So far, protests have tapered off, but this is still a delicate situation. President Trump has his hands full on the international stage, managing crises in Ukraine, Greenland, and Venezuela. But the president has said he's still focused on Iran, where the officials and leaders there are threatening an all-out war if the United States were to try to take out Ayatollah Khamenei. The protesters have largely tapered off demonstrations after brutal crackdowns from security forces. President Trump has said he's hoped to keep the momentum going in Iran, saying over the weekend it's, quote, time to look for new leadership in Iran. Iran's president responded with a warning saying that any attack on the supreme leader would be a declaration of war, while Ayatollah Khamenei has once again blamed the United States for sowing the discord and unrest in Iran. President Trump's threat of regime change does pack a bit more of a punch after the capture of Venezuela's president, but this is something that we're actively monitoring. Some Republicans on Capitol Hill are calling on the president to use the moment as an opportunity and actively work towards toppling the Iranian government. But there are concerns in the Middle East that this could spill out into a broader conflict in the Middle East and other parts of the world if the United States were to intervene. So we will continue to keep you updated. In the meantime, Iranian officials say at least 5,000 people died during this crackdown. That true number is expected to be much higher. Guys, as promised, we are going to get a check of your weather forecast coming up. As you know, some strong winter weather is headed our way. Meteorologist Jonathan Stacey is headed our way and is going to break it down for us coming up. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Ariel Onstad here with meteorologist Jonathan Stacy. And you guys, if you see Jonathan here, you know what we're about to do. We're about to talk about the winter storms headed our way this weekend. So, Jonathan, let's talk some things out. Right before we went live, you said you wanted to hash some stuff out with us and talk through what we're seeing. So I know the models are early, but I think confidence every day has seemed to grow with what you've told us.
And there's been a tremendous leap in that confidence day over day. And today is probably the day in which the models are not exactly in lockstep, but we're seeing a trend with the modeling. Before I show you those models, I'm going to just get a couple things pulled up here on my computer, Ariel.
Yeah, go for it.
Before we dive in. But we're looking at impact timing for this. This would be as early as Friday night specifically. So let's kind of describe the orientation of how things will work. We will start out, and I don't want to take the graphics too soon. Let me take that out. Now we can go ahead and try something today if you want to. What we're going to have tomorrow evening are some showers that are going to push through. I'm going to even change my clock up here. Take this out a little while. Let's go all the way to Monday. How about that? Okay, so we'll have a few showers between Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday evening, scattered in nature for Thursday. A few isolated showers even breaking out on Friday. And look at it here. You can see, we see blue, we see pink, purple, and we see green. So what will be the most interesting thing about this encroaching winter storm, in which our impact could start as early as Friday night, is that between the mountains, far north Georgia and North Georgia, generally the foothills and the metro area, the south side included, and central Georgia, there could be 3 different weather events occurring at the same time. So there could be a steady snow across the mountains. Meanwhile, there could also be an ongoing mix of wintry precip across the metro area and the suburbs. Could carry with them at times rain, sleet, and at other times freezing rain. And then down to the south, we could be participating in what will be just a chilly rain. So when we talk about this forecast, we're really trying to speak to 3 different types of weather happening in an area that we're responsible for covering at the same time. We're not lining these up saying first this, second this, third this. This could be a 24-hour to even 36-hour event that ends up basically, as you say, concurrent. Different things are happening at different locations, and the dividing line appears right now to be North Georgia, between the haves and the have-nots. So watch this. This is now 12 midnight, going into the day Saturday. Okay, so this model is saying there's water across Atlanta, going all the way up even into the mountains. But look, the purple really starts to take in, and temperatures are somewhere just above freezing. Still no snow yet, but for 20 to the south, it looks like it's an all rain event. Okay, the day grows on, and it looks like there's more of a wintry mix. This is possibly freezing rain. 4, 5, 6 o'clock Saturday. Okay, now we have a situation where the warmest of air has been shut out from the surface, and the snow's still not in quite yet, but a wintry mix laying hold. And look, it just keeps on for hours on end. We're now into the wee hours of Sunday morning. Okay, Sunday morning, Sunday, let's get to the afternoon. And we're still going here. Let's keep on going, and let's keep on going.
Oh my goodness, Jonathan.
And let's keep on going to bring in some snow. And this is now 3 o'clock on Monday, and there still could be some flurries and flakes flying. Okay, so I've shown you that here. Now let's talk about it.
Okay.
We're seeing these outrageous numbers. You're seeing them everywhere, up to 2 inches of ice, maybe more. Some are calling for maybe 1/4 of an inch of ice. Okay, we'll take that too. We're seeing this long period of time. I started this at Friday. I'll even put it in play for you all so you can see it while we're talking and get your life together. And then as we go through, so we're looking at a drastic range of amounts and a drastic range in terms of time.
Yes.
Why am I pointing these features out? Is that even if we were to start to squeeze the time and squeeze the amounts, we still have a problem.
Yes.
So if this is not a 48-hour event in which it is projected to be based on the current modeling, and it's just a 24-hour event, it's still very problematic.
Yes.
Because a little bit of ice goes a long way. You're going to see some amounts out there that are around a tenth of an inch. Anything more than that, I would have concern from the sidewalk to every surface across the area.
So it's very realistic that we will not be, our flights might not be taking off Sunday, and we may not be traveling into work on Monday.
Yes, that is the realistic factor is now part of the conversation, especially with the way the models are trending. There are a couple of things I do want to point out about ice storms which are significant around here. Our terrain is very hilly.
Yeah.
You don't notice the hills until you're stuck on
it's
a
so
slope.
bad. Yeah.
But just getting out of our parking lot here at our job, there's a hill that we all notice, but it's never a problem.
Until it is.
That would make going to work an issue.
Yeah.
Getting inside the station an issue with just a little bit. So what are the things you can do today? We want to talk about that for a second, Ariel?
Yeah, I have a minute for you, Jonathan.
Okay, a minute.
Go for it.
So if you want to, if you have the resources to go get your tires checked out. We want everybody to be at home, but if you got to be out and about, let's go, check on the tires. Figure out what your other power sources can be if you rely on the power grid to keep you going. If you have any battery sources, I know over the years people have talked about how their electric cars have been sources, but once again, that's another concern. It's like it may be a source for power, but here's the thing about electric cars: they don't work without power of their own.
Yes.
So getting, I'm in that category. I don't know how I'm going to get to work if we're days without power because I have to charge my car at home. Plus, battery-powered cars don't do well when it's cold. So thinking about that. Another thing, too, is the trees don't have leaves on them anymore.
No.
So therefore, there's more surface area for ice to form on the trees, meaning that the branches, they're going to be all covered up in ice. They start to snap, they lean, there goes the power grid. You've seen instances here in Atlanta, I think it was 2014 or 17, in which the city was wiped out due to ice storms. So it is going to be kind of a tumultuous weekend ahead if all remains as it appears today.
Jonathan, I always appreciate you breaking things down for us without hyperbole and giving us the realistic kind of way forward. Definitely something that we're going to continue to monitor right here on Fox Local. And of course, I know that you guys are going to, as soon as anything new changes, you'll update our apps and make sure that we're up to date. But
we got you covered.
I know you're going to be busy. I know you're going to be busy.
Yep,
so thank you, Jonathan, so much. I appreciate you.
Indeed.
All right, guys, coming up really quickly, we're going to check in with our Deidre Dukes about a South Fulton police officer who's being honored and what the community has done for him. So that's coming up next. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt, and I want to take an opportunity really quickly to address some comments you have here on TikTok. Someone's asking, what's going on here, folks? Can anyone update me with an eyeball and snow emoji asking about the weather? The short story is winter storms are headed to Atlanta this weekend. The Atlanta metro, North Georgia is especially going to see some significant impacts, and there could be widespread ice and snow. So just make sure that you're prepared for winter weather this weekend. That's the tea. I see Ty Crowley saying, so my plans to Augusta are canceled. And Ty, if you're traveling this weekend, especially Sunday, the answer is most likely yes, because it's going to be very difficult to travel with ice on the roads like we are expecting. So just wanted to give you guys that update and answer your questions. In the meantime, I want to get to a happy story, something that we're excited to talk about today, because a South Fulton officer who was wounded has been honored in a really special and unique way. Our Deidre Dukes joins us live from the state capitol to talk about it. Deidre, it's so good to see you. Can you tell me what happened today? Share with us the good news.
Yeah, it really is great news, Ariel. It started on a very tragic note last April. A City of South Fulton police officer, his name is Lieutenant Chuck Cook. He was critically wounded, shot 5 times during a shootout with a suspect along Fulton Industrial Boulevard. Another officer who was also involved in that altercation was also wounded, but Lieutenant Cook was critically wounded, was transported to Grady, underwent several surgeries and also months of rehab, is still recovering from that shooting. Well, he was here at the state capitol today, and he was honored in a mortgage payoff ceremony. And what happened was there was a gentleman who met Lieutenant Cook at a Falcons football game, and some of the people who were there with the lieutenant really shared his story about what happened to him and all that he was still dealing with. And this man, his name is David Johnson, he wanted to do something, felt that he really wanted to honor the lieutenant for his sacrifice and the courage that he's shown over the last several months. And so what he did, along with his wife, is they donated some $140,000 to pay off this lieutenant's mortgage, to pay it off in full. And I talked to the lieutenant today about just how that made him feel. Here's what he had to say.
It speaks volumes about what the community does, the support of law enforcement, the support of public safety, the support of our military, just the ability to financially don't have that burden on you so you can spend your time and energy into just getting better. So very, very grateful for what everybody has done to support me and my family.
Yeah, and what a wonderful gesture by the Johnson family. I talked to David Johnson about what really moved him to do something like this, to make sure that the lieutenant had one less thing to worry about as he works to fully recover from his injuries that he suffered during that shooting. And here's what he told us.
I asked around, and I said, what was done for Officer Chuck? He was shot so many times, responding to another officer's request of nothing, nothing. And that's not right. This man's a hero. He's here protecting us in Georgia, and let's do what we can to help him. It's just been really cool getting to know him. It was pretty emotional. We were all together at the Falcons game. Like, I literally just met him. I had my son with me, and it meant more to me than I think it meant to him.
And it was really emotional, Errol, for everyone on hand today, including the governor and First Lady Marty Kemp. They were there, and the governor said some words thanking him for his service, the lieutenant, and just so many people here just to show their support. Lieutenant Cook saying that he truly appreciated all that has been done for him over the past several months, not only on the part of the Johnson family, but so many others who have also extended their thoughts and prayers for him during this time, Ariel.
Deidre, I am so appreciative you brought this story to our attention, because I feel like this is just an example of what community really means, from the standpoint that they met at a Falcons game of all places, and just through natural conversation, someone who had the means and resources said, hey, let me use what I've got to bless you and make your life a little better.
Yeah, really, just a chance meeting. Can you imagine that? Just sitting next to someone that you don't know out of thousands of people at a game, and maybe you don't even bring up the story, but those who are with you really, truly start to talk about what happened to you, all that you've endured, and as a result of that, someone with such a kind, generous heart, just really feeling that they wanted to act to do something so selfless and so beautiful for another human being. Just a really all-around feel-good story.
Deidre, you said you put it so well. I couldn't put it better myself. It's truly touching, and you know, I bet this maybe inspires other people in our community to help others around them, and maybe, you know, make that positive impact. It doesn't have to be paying off someone's mortgage, right? Like sometimes it can be just kind words or maybe simple gestures that you have the means and opportunity to do. So, just really inspiring and a great way to kind of create the village that you want to see. And to make yourself be a part of that. So, Deidre, I appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, guys, we're going to move on really quickly. Let Deidre get back to information gathering. I have a story to tell you about that's pretty cool. Imagine seeing some of our country's most historic documents on tour. You're going to be able to, because the National Archives has announced a traveling exhibition of some of our country's most important documents. And this is really cool because the exhibition is going to commemorate America's 250th anniversary. The original documents are expected to travel to 8 cities across the country over the span of 6 months. A senior advisor to the acting archivist of the United States, Jim Byron, says some of the documents that are going to go on this tour include an engraving of the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Association from 1774, and the Treaty of Paris from 1783. So you might be able to lay your eyes on some of these historic documents. Let's listen to what Jim had to say.
To celebrate America's 250th birthday, it is my pleasure to announce today the Freedom Plane National Tour, to make accessible to the American people across our nation for the first time historic and consequential documents fundamental to America's founding and the beginning of American government. At least 10 irreplaceable documents from America's founding period that are windows in time will travel our country to 8 cities, beginning in March, and set to conclude in August. All originals, no facsimiles, no copies. All incredible, all instructional, and all irreplaceable. Many of these documents are leaving this building for the first time, and they are traveling together for the first time in history. Rather than go by train, these documents will leave Washington, D.C. and travel all 8 cities aboard the Freedom Plane, a beautiful Boeing 737 provided very generously by the Boeing Company.
So you're listening to Jim talk a little bit about this traveling tour with showing off some of these original historic documents from America's founding and just throughout our nation's history. It's low-key giving national treasure just a little bit, I'm not going to lie, but the key here is that if you are going to want to see these documents, you can see them in a variety of American cities right here in Atlanta, Los Angeles, Houston, Denver, Miami, Seattle, Dearborn, Michigan, and Kansas City, Missouri. That's where the documents are going to be headed, so you will be able to lay your eyes on them right here in Atlanta at some point, and we'll let you know as we get closer to that. In the meantime, as we continue here, coming up, I want to get you a look at a job fair that Goodwill is hosting. They're hosting a series of these job fairs. If you're trying to get a new job in the new year, we're going to check in with Chris Rosenthal about that. I also want to let you know about some health-related news. A new sphere. You think about the Las Vegas sphere, that could be coming to a new place here on the East Coast, another sphere, and some surprising health benefits of coffee and how it may help diabetes, of all things. So we're going to talk about that coming up. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstad. It's great to have you here streaming along with us on our Tuesday afternoon. If you're trying to find a new job here in the new year, Goodwill may be able to help you. They're hosting a series of fairs to help people get connected to new opportunities. Our Chris Rosenthal was there and shows us how to get involved.
Well, with the new year, a lot of people are also looking for a new job. There are a lot of job openings out there that come up with the new year, and that's why Goodwill is having this New Year, New Job Career Fair all across Metro Atlanta and Georgia, including here at Smyrna, at the Goodwill location in Smyrna, where I am at today. And we have a variety of employers out here today that are here to meet with potential new employees. We have all kinds of sectors from healthcare and transportation. We have school systems, a variety of jobs. There's really a lot on the table for people looking for a new job or a new career. And Goodwill is here to help them. And I talked with Mindy Pryor with Goodwill just about what is going on and why this is so important. What sort of job opportunities are available to these folks here today?
We have a variety of different industries and employers hiring from industries today. We've got people from education, from transportation. They're hiring for maintenance technicians. We've got a variety of healthcare occupations available. Like I said, transportation, some warehouse, a variety of different jobs. Public service.
As we go into the new year, are those the areas that we're really seeing the most demand for jobs?
Absolutely. So healthcare, there's so much demand in healthcare. We still need a lot of truck drivers. We're seeing a lot of demand in transportation and in maintenance technicians. So a variety of different maintenance needs.
It is a new year. Is this a time when people and businesses are really hiring and opening up new spots?
Absolutely. What's so fantastic about having these career fairs is that you're able to meet with employers that are hiring right now in your community. So in Cobb County today, these are the jobs available. You can come over to the Career Center and find a job for you.
Yeah, so this is a situation where people could walk out of here, with an interview and with a job. It's not just take a business card and a resume.
Absolutely. We work with employers to make sure we're making those direct connections from the local talent to the employer so people can walk away with a job. But if you see a job that you don't have the credentials or quite the requirements for, but you want to take this next step in 2026, we have training programs here at Goodwill. So we can help you get those credentials that you need. We work with partners all across Cobb County to help you get the training and credentials that you need for a better job.
At this career fair, it's really for a variety of groups of different people. And one of the groups that's also getting some attention here are the veteran groups and resources that are available to them.
I just think all my veterans have different type of transitioning paths, and some of those transitioning paths they have is understanding who they are as a whole veteran and what they're looking for at their new transitioning point. So some veterans might be looking for part-time work, some veterans might be looking for full-time work, some veterans might have some elements that they need to overcome before they get into the work fields.
And one of the cool things about this career fair is a lot of these people here today have already landed job interviews here on site. So definitely a very productive experience for these people. And if you missed it, there are plenty more opportunities they're having throughout the week and into next week. You can check Goodwill's website to see what those dates and locations are. Back to you.
Awesome, Chris. Thanks so much for giving us an overview of how we can get involved if we're looking for a new opportunity in the new year. I saw Six Flags over Georgia. I saw some other companies there, so it seems like a great opportunity. Okay, guys, as promised, I want to talk to you about that story I was saying could be a little surprising with coffee maybe helping with diabetes. Let's talk about it because new research shows that coffee might be able to do more than just wake you up in the morning. Researchers at the Chinese Academy of Sciences found that certain compounds in roasted coffee beans could help slow the stream of sugar into our blood. That research shows promise in supporting new foods that manage type 2 diabetes in the future. Those scientists identified 3 unknown previously previously unknown compounds in coffee beans, and that would end up blocking an enzyme that plays a role in how fast sugar enters our bodies. The researchers did say they need to conduct further studies to see how effective these compounds are in living organisms, but the findings are published in the Beverage Plant Research Journal if you want to know more information. And if you've been to the Sphere in Las Vegas, you know how incredible it looks and just how eye-catching this experience is. And now the Sphere in Vegas might not be the only one that exists, because this popular interactive venue could get a second location in the East Coast. Sphere Entertainment, the company behind the interactive Sphere in Las Vegas, intends to build a secondary location in Maryland, about 15 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. Sphere Entertainment says that this new venue is set to be built in an area known as National Harbor, and it would be located in Prince George's County, Maryland. The company says that the mini Sphere would be smaller in size and seat 6,000 people compared to the original Sphere in Vegas, which can seat 17,000. This comes after the company announced plans back in October of 2024 to build a Sphere in Abu Dhabi. So it kind of seems like people are really going nuts for the Sphere. And if you've been there, you know how fun and enjoyable this experience can be. It can be a little scary too, though, because it can give you a bit of motion sickness. But if you've been, it sounds like they're getting another one here on the east side of things as opposed to just the west. But let's move on and get a look at where we are headed here at 3 o'clock as we approach the 3 p.m. hour. We know that President Trump stepped up to the podium around 1:45. He is holding the White House press briefing today, and it looks like he is still addressing things with reporters, and he was the one, you can see him still talking live there at the White House, Tom. But looks like we've got a lot of things on tap for 3 o'clock.
I've been watching this news conference, Ariel, for the good part of an hour. The president riffing on a lot of things. He started the news conference out by talking about the efforts on the part of ICE up in Minnesota, showed mugshots of all of the convicted criminals that have been retaken into custody by ICE, kind of wondering what the problem is as ICE agents kind of fan out across that state and look for people like that. Obviously, there's a lot of disagreement as to the operations underway in Minnesota. A lot of people taking to the streets, whether those are organic protests, in other words, people who live in that state, is kind of up in the air. The president calling them professional agitators. But we're also watching from Atlanta police locally here a news conference that is about to take place on crime statistics for 2025. You know, the mayor, Andre Dickens, when he was running for re-election, often touted the fact that crime is lower in our city. Well, we're going to hear the exact numbers that they're talking about, because a lot of people are interested on where we're at as a state here as we move into 2026. And of course, the big headline that a lot of people are talking about, the elephant in the room, if you will, is the weather.
Amen. Where are we headed with that?
So Jonathan Stacy has a brand new forecast that's also coming up here in the 3 o'clock hour.
Awesome. Well, Tom, looking forward to it. Can't wait to chat about it. You guys, it's been a pleasure streaming with you here at 2 o'clock. We're going to see you right back here at 3.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us here for the 3 p.m. streaming hour on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haynes, here with you in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom on this Tuesday afternoon. You're looking live right now at Atlanta Police Headquarters, where the Chief Darren Shearbaum there, sitting front and center, is going to update us on some crime statistics from 2025. And the reason these are important to you is because this is sort of what gauges police activity moving into the new year. Mayor Andre Dickens has been very vocal about this issue, touting his achievements and the police department in cracking down on crime, and we expect the police chief to sort of echo those statistics and roll out for us, if you will, sort of a 2025 year in review. It's something that a lot of people who live in the metro Atlanta area pay attention to, obviously, because they want to hear that our streets are safer than they were the year before. We like to hear progress from the police department, and we believe, just from information that we've been able to glean sort of in advance of this news conference, that that is exactly what the police chief is going to say. Of course, all eyes are also on this news conference due to the huge sporting event that we have coming up here in June, and that is some of the qualifying matches for the FIFA World Cup. So as the public relations person kind of briefs the media as to how this news conference is going to unfold, and what we're expected to hear from Chief Shearbaum, we're going to now listen in. Let's listen.
And then just the members of the media, you all are an important partner. We're going to go over a number of key successes we experienced last year and we've experienced over the last 3 years. And the media putting out our Crime Stopper tips, getting information for us. You two are part of the success as we keep Atlanta safer. Joined today by a number of members of our Criminal Investigations Division. They're going to introduce themselves as they come up. I want to thank them. They work very, very hard all day long. There is no holidays for Chief Span's division. There are no days off or hours that they're not working. And so as much like the media, they are always out and about making sure the city's safe. And they're going to represent a lot of the hard work that's been done by this department this year. We are here to highlight a number of successes in key drops in crime. That is because Mayor Dickens has given us the tools we need to carry out our mission of keeping Atlanta safe. Our growing police department, a new training center, many new resources that we didn't have just 4 years ago. We now have that are active in the city, so I want to acknowledge the administration, the citizens, and then many, many law enforcement partners from across the region and the state that help us. We're going to have a second year in a row that overall crime is down in Atlanta, Georgia. We saw an overall drop in crime last year of 7%. That's on top of a 5% reduction the previous year of crime being down in Atlanta in the categories that we track. Our priority continues to be gangs, guns, and drugs. If you are going to operate a gang in this city, if you're going to possess a gun illegally and use it illegally, if you are going to operate a narcotics dealing operation, you're eventually going to meet the individuals at this table, but it won't be in such a kind setting. That will be on the business end of the police department. That is our focus, and it's our priority, and has contributed to some of the key drops. 2 areas I really want to focus on before I turn it over to Chief Span is the drop in our homicide rate. In 2022, when Mayor Dickens took office, we were going to have a 25-year high in homicides in Atlanta, Georgia. 171 individuals would lose their lives that year to homicides in our city. The number one reason was an escalating dispute over the most ridiculous things that even in your newsroom you scratch your head on, as we do as a police department. We can't be in every living room and every place where a citizen's interaction may turn into mayhem and someone has quick access to a gun or a knife. But what we can do is start attacking the things that are in our purview, which is illegal gangs, drug dealing operations, and illegal possession of guns. And the men and women at this table, the department, were busy over the last 4 years. And I'm very proud to report that in 2025, we saw less than 100 homicides in our city, which we had not seen since 2019. We saw reductions in areas that we would expect expect to have influence, stopping gang influence murders, stopping narcotics influence murders. Even in nightlife areas where we're able to project influence, we saw those drop noticeably. The number one reason an individual still lost their life last year in Atlanta, Georgia, was an escalating dispute. So we continue to need the help of individuals across the city, faith-based communities, youth initiatives, civic groups, everyone that can band together to teach conflict resolution, how to get along when you disagree, and making sure that there's a time of anger that we don't act rashly to cause a homicide. But I do want to thank you, Chief Span, and all your efforts of your team, everyone on the Atlanta Police Department, the administration that has given us the tools that we need, and also calling everyone to be an ambassador for peace and safety in our city. But there's another key, and so I want to give you, if you haven't done the math already, 171 homicides in 2022, 98 last year. That's a 43% reduction in homicides in our city since we've initiated our Gangs, Guns, and Drugs initiative, using the size and expertise of the department and our partnerships with the citizens and law enforcement community. But in that same period of time, we saw a 27% reduction in non-fatal shootings in our city. Individuals that were shot that did not die from those injuries, that dropped 27% over the same period of time that we saw homicides reduced in Atlanta, Georgia. And there's a lot of reasons for that. In the last year, we took 3,003 guns off the street of Atlanta, Georgia, in a range of necessity. If you do all 4 years of this group's work, we took 12,821 guns off the street, out of drug dealing operations, out of gang operations, guns that were stolen and trying to be repurposed. There's a lot of reasons that we came across then. But for taking 12,821 guns off the street of Atlanta in the last 4 years, that is why you see a reduction of homicides that is so significant, as well as non-fatal shootings. Chief Span, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about our clearance rate around homicide, how we bring that out, and we'll continue to go around the table as if each of you meet some very dedicated, committed professionals that fight crime on your behalf each and every day. Chief Span.
Thank you, Chief. So when we talk about our clearance rate for homicide, as you can see, the national average is 61.4%. That means for us, we have 77.55% of a clearance rate. This means that our investigators are able to solve 77.55% of those 98 cases that Chief Shearbaum referenced earlier, compared to that of the national average. And this is due to help not only of the great investigative work, but certainly the help of our community calling Crime Stoppers and helping our officers out on the scenes, providing tips for those that we're trying to help bring justice to their families for.
So we'll highlight a couple cases.
Introduce yourself.
Sure, I'm Major Peter Malecki. I'm over our major crime section with the police department. One of those units is the homicide unit that falls under me. As Chief Span mentioned, a little bit of our clearance rate, but I don't think it really tells the full story of everything and all the work that's done by the homicide unit. In addition to homicides, a lot of people don't know they also work all of our adult missing person cases, which is a huge number, and that is vitally important in reuniting families with missing loved ones. So they do an exceptionally well job of clearing those cases as well as all our justifiable homicides, our death investigations, and child death cases that we work. So a tremendous amount of work goes into these cases, and as Chief Shearbaum and Chief Span mentioned, we really could not do this without Crime Stoppers, without the integration of video that citizens trust us to provide that information. It really makes a massive difference in us being able to be where we're at today in this reduction. So,
I want to talk about Edgewood.
Right, so I'm Lieutenant Butler, Homicide Unit Commander. One of the significant arrests, this was a weekend that really made the news. We had multiple shootings over the weekend. And this one, unfortunately, ended in a 27-year-old innocent male losing his life that weekend. Thankfully, like Major mentioned, Crime Stoppers came in very key on this one, where early on we received a tip indicating that this Mr. Arnold was involved. And because of that tip, we were ultimately able to secure arrest warrants, and working with our fugitive unit, in a matter of days, he was taken into custody. So it's a testament to Crime Stoppers, to the video integration. We were able to relocate a lot of video on that Edgewood corridor, which led to solving this crime and several others that happened that weekend. So anybody that can connect with Connect Atlanta and integrate, it's very beneficial. I mean, no tip is too small. If see something, say something really does apply, and simply picking up the phone and making a tip, it benefits more than most people, I think, really know.
I'm going to go over to ACE, our auto crimes enforcement. Talk about what they're doing.
Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Carlos Maldonado. I'm the commander of the Auto Crimes Enforcement Unit. Auto Crimes is unique at part of the Criminal Investigations Division because not only are we investigative, but we act as an enforcement arm for all of CID. We're able to not only solve cases, but actually go out there and make the arrest. If you look at the slide here, in 2025, Auto Crimes Enforcement Unit made 104 arrests. So those are investigators that are making cases and obtaining warrants of individuals for our crimes, and then we have the ability to go out there and actually make the arrest ourselves as a unit. But not only just auto crimes cases, we have the ability to go out and get cases for the rest of CID. If you look at this slide here, this is a case where enforcement did just that. There was a person that was wanted and questioning had a warrant for a homicide within the city of Atlanta. Officer was able to find a vehicle tied to that individual in the area of Pickfair and Ashwood Avenue. And so we identified that vehicle and found a vehicle that had no insurance on the vehicle, and we were able to conduct a traffic stop. If you watch it, immediately you begin to see that the person was starting to exhibit signs that this wasn't a normal traffic stop. He doesn't stop right away. In fact, in a second, he's going to begin thinking about trying to evade law enforcement, and we knew that those signs separated him from a normal traffic stop. We began to conduct a vehicle box-in to prevent him from fleeing and becoming a hazard on the streets of the city, and then he made every effort to try and escape. He decided to try and ram some of the patrol cars, and then finally exited on foot while taking a firearm and tossing it into the air. And what made this firearm more dangerous is that it was equipped with the device that converts it from semi-automatic to a fully automatic rate of fire. And as you saw in the picture, it had a large magazine drum that easily would have given him more firepower than all those officers on the scene. And thankfully, our officers would have taken this dangerous individual in custody without it becoming a safety hazard for both the suspect and for the general public. And not only was he wanted for homicide, but he actually had a warrant from the U.S. Marshal Service, which shows that once again, this is a dangerous offender taken safely into custody and mitigating the risk to the public.
Coming up next, we're going to talk about Operation Deep Freeze.
How's everyone doing? It's Lieutenant Clements with the gang unit, the gang unit commander. So Operation Deep Freeze started in October, ends in December of 2025. Over seven operations. During those operations, we made 77 arrests, where 20 guns were recovered, and obviously during those operations, we used our motorist unit to conduct 274 traffic infractions within our hot areas that we consider hot spots. Within those 77 arrests, we did have 20 that were convicted gang members, and also 35 convicted felons. And with those operations, we do utilize our law enforcement partners to assist us with that, because we understand that crime is just not Atlanta, but it covers our sister cities like East Point, DeKalb, those areas. So we do a lot with our law enforcement partners to assist with those actual arrests and operations. And we really focus on violent crime and not just out here looking for numbers. We really focus on the people that are actually doing the worst in the city of Atlanta. And we utilize those people, these officers, to get the worst out of the streets.
So now we're here in this operation. Actually, do the whole question, but I'll tell you. So after that, we're going to go to some of the challenges. Although we have some great things happening, we also have some challenges. Major Malecki, please.
Sure. So, as Director Spikes mentioned, some of the challenges we have when we talk about our aggravated assault numbers, I think it's important to know that it's not just non-fatal shootings. It's any weapon that's used offensively that can cause great bodily harm. So we do see a lot of these. And of course, as you look at the bizarre crime section of the slide, these all really were escalating disputes, as Chief mentioned, which is a high motive not only in homicides, but non-fatal shootings and other instruments that are used as a weapon. So an example on there, we had an aggravated assault where the weapon was a broom, and that dispute started over cats. Literally, it escalated over cats and led to someone assaulting another individual with a broom. The bottom two that you see are unfortunately more serious. We had two individuals lose their lives over French fries and water. So it seems ridiculous, because it is, but again, that goes back to the conflict resolution, and something that the majority of people wouldn't even think twice about leads to gun violence or physical assaults, and those things are definitely hard to prevent, and they're hard to deter against, because it comes down to just kind of humanity and just being able to resolve these conflicts peacefully.
Chief Spann, you want to talk about the challenge that we're facing with robberies being up right now?
Sure. So when we look at our challenges for robberies, a lot of times we see a lot of our marketplace sales occur not in safe zones. But I can tell you, if you choose to utilize a safe zone, such as a police department, we know that we are likely to reduce those type of robberies for occurring. So when I say marketplace type robberies, we're referring to those robberies that you may see an item for sale that you wish to purchase. You meet up at a gas station, for instance, and the next thing you know, those pair of tennis shoes that you were attempting to sell now becomes a robbery where somebody has robbed you at gunpoint, for instance, for a pair of shoes. Again, we suggest that you utilize those safe zones. Every police department in the city is a safe zone that we have that you are more than willing to utilize to reduce the risk of being robbed at those times.
We saw both sellers and purchasers targeted.
Yes.
So oftentimes it was set up to be a robbery on both ends of that. So use a police precinct. We haven't seen anybody yet commit a robbery at any of our police precincts, and we don't think that's going to change. So help us help your day be a good day and a safe day.
We created this PSA that you see running to remind citizens that they can go for those exchange for those for that sale or purchase of online merchandise. But we also want to remind people you can go here to have a safe exchange of a child because we do have situations where people may not necessarily get along, and so this is a place that where we feel that you can be safe. So we do ask the media, these PSAs that we create, please help us by pushing those out to your viewers, your watchers, your subscribers, your readers, because it's very important. We're almost at the end of the presentation. Before we have questions, we're going to talk about how the community, as well as you members of the media, can help us solve crime. So Chief Giovanni.
Yeah, we could not do what we do without the citizens. Any success that we have, from the most violent crime to car break-ins and car thefts, which are both down notably in the city. Most citizens will never experience gun violence. May watch it on your news broadcast, but most will not. The number one category is car break-in or car theft, and we saw deep reductions of those this past year. 37% of reduction in our car thefts in the city last year. Our third year in a row of reduction of car break-ins, they were down another 15% last year. A lot of this goes back to prevention initiatives and investment, but these are the three key areas citizens can be part of the safety mission of Atlanta, Georgia. Integrate and register your cameras on the Connect Atlanta website. That helps us reach out to individuals, have them look at their camera systems for us. It's been a very important part of our solving crimes. Crime Stoppers, it's already been mentioned. Every time you put this logo up on your digital platform, on your evening news broadcast, this allows citizens to be part of the crime solving mission, and I cannot overstate its importance in solving all types of crimes. And then sharing video that you have through our 911 system, being able to text information to 911 when we send you the link from the 911 center. You're able to give us information right away on how the suspect was dressed and what the suspect was driving. These three platforms right here allow citizens to be safe, active participants in the safety mission of Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to go out and do the difficult work. We're going to go out and do the dangerous work for the citizens. This gives us the information we need to be able to do it effectively, to make sure we put the right person up for the judicial system. And again, the only reason the citizens know this is because you each highlight that. So thank you in your role as the media for highlighting it for us across the citizenry.
So before we go to questions, we also want to toss it over to Lieutenant Butler to talk about open and active and what that is.
Right. So I just want to reiterate that, as we like to see every case, we want to solve it. Where somebody's tragically lost their loved one, and the detectives in the homicide unit work tirelessly trying to do so. They're constantly working cases. We do have cold case detectives who specialize in reviewing cases to get another set of eyes on. So after every several years, it's reassigned. This case in reference on the TV as well happened on Verbena Street, about 7 years ago. So that's been revisited last year, and we do that to reiterate interest in that it hasn't been forgotten. We are still trying to seek justice for those that have not been able to solve that case, but we're still looking into it. So like I said, just a tragedy, but we reiterate, Crime Stoppers, it may happen several years ago. It could be a case from 10, 15 years ago, but anybody that has information on a case, we encourage them to reach out. And, it's the homicides unit goal to try to solve everything. However, there are some challenges. Not every case is created equal, but, we like to keep everybody's memory in our thought.
All right, so now we'll open it up for any questions you may have.
I think you had questions earlier, ma'am?
She did.
Oh, did you? Okay, good.
I did have another question. I know the guns, gangs, drugs, we've heard that. That's a reoccurring theme. Is that continuing into 2026, or are there new goals or new ways that we're going to continue? You're going to continue.
Yes, but it's still going to be our priority. We're the only city department that is charged with that initiative. We have 2 youth centers, which we operate, but so does Parks and Recreation. We have a number of community engagement initiatives that we have, but so do multiple other city departments. We're the only one charged with gangs, guns, and drugs. No one else is going to go shut down a drug dealing operation in Atlanta, Georgia. So we'll still be our focus because that's our charge. You're going to continue to see us focus on community engagement to be able to strengthen areas, particularly around domestic violence prevention and reduction. Street racers, be on note. We put 10 of you in jail New Year's Eve. We have warrants coming for those that we didn't get that night. We're going to make sure we focus on those things and make citizens question the safety of Atlanta, Georgia. And no one is going to be given a free rein to commit crime in Atlanta. And so we're going to use our diversion center. Over 1,200 diversions last year by the Atlanta Police Department into the diversion center to make sure individuals get the help they need of why they're committing crime. So you're going to continue to see the full court press, but we're not going to step away from what is important for us, which is gangs, guns, and drugs. The citizens expect it of us, and we're going to deliver.
Have you seen a change in habits of the community leaving their guns in their cars?
I actually think those are down this year. The team can correct me if I'm wrong. We saw a reduction this past year. So thank you, Atlanta, for being responsible gun owners. Thank you, citizens visiting our city. It's a fun city to visit in, and thank you for being responsible when you arrive here. So I'm hoping the message is catching on, but actually, and that stat I don't have in front of me, but I actually believe we saw a reduction in the number of guns taken from cars last year, which helps keep the city safe.
So you talk a lot about the reduction in homicides. Are the aggravated assaults actually up over that same 4-year period?
So persons shot continues to drop too. Where you see aggravated assaults isn't just a firearm getting struck by. So if we're all in the same room and a bullet enters that room, that is 6 aggravated assaults. 1 incident, 6 aggravated assaults. So the way crime is counted, sometimes you actually see the incidents go down, but because a number of people in a room or 1 bullet enters, we carry each of those because we're going to hold that individual responsible that put those 6 individuals in danger. But also broom handles, solid objects that are thrown. We see some ridiculous aggravated assaults. Most people think aggravated assault is a gun. It's not. It's putting people in danger. So while statistically they rose last year, you actually saw the number of people shot continue on a 3-year drop in our city.
But aggravated assaults are rising.
The number of the way we, yes, that's correct. That's correct. I apologize. Yes, I apologize.
Chief, you've had a goal of this 2,000 officers, this staff, and there's been pushes during each budget kind of cycle the last few years, and it seems like you're getting higher and higher and higher. Is this year we see you go over 2,000? And do these numbers reflect that need for that staff? Or some might argue, maybe you don't need more staff. Things are going well as they are. Maybe the force is the right size.
We're a major American city, and studies are conducted, and we're conducting a new study now to see what the right number is. But I can tell you, whenever we have large events like any parade or any large assembly in the city, it takes everybody. 12-hour shifts. We cancel off days. We ask our officers to step away from the families. There's certain things we stop doing because we have to protect the parade or the protest. So the department needs to be the size of a major American city police department. If we're going to host Super Bowls and if we're going to host large attendance of games, you can't be a small police department, especially if you want us to protect that event and keep crime down in the city. And citizens that have waited 3 hours for the police department because their car was broken into will totally disagree that the police department is its right size because they expect the police officers to arrive quickly. So we're going to grow back to our authorized strength to make sure we can protect large events and fight crime in the city and be there quickly for those lower priority matters that citizens call us for.
So what are you at now and where do you want
Yeah, we just crossed back over around 1840, and our authorized strength is 2020. We do have a study that is being initiated that is going to be underway this year to say what is the right size of a city of 500,000, a city that is actively attracting large sporting events. What should that size be? We'll have that study completed again this year, but we're back over 1,800. We haven't been there, oh my goodness, since a number of years. We haven't been there. We have over 200 recruits in training that will be going to the street this year. Atlanta, Georgia is a vibrant place, and it deserves to have a well-staffed police department to keep it that way and keep it safe.
Immigration enforcement, we're seeing it as a national issue. How does the Atlanta police interact with ICE, and has that been a stronger focus recently?
We do not have any immigration mission or mandate. We are here to enforce city ordinances and state law. And so where you will see us is gangs, guns, and drugs. Our partnership is with the ATF, the FBI, the DEA, the Postal Service Police to be in those areas. And so that's going to continue to be our function. We're not going to allow any property to be damaged in the city. We're not going to allow anyone to be assaulted in Atlanta, Georgia. But my job is gangs, guns, and drugs, and that's where we're going to stay focused.
Chief, can you talk a little bit about how policing has continued to change over the years? Like, I mean, we're talking about some of these cases where obviously people are facing aggravated assaults for things like french fries or things that we think don't make any sense, but people are so quick to react. How does that influence how you guys do your job and how you guys have changed over the years as well in approach situations?
We continue to see an influx of technology into the profession. Cameras, body-worn cameras that we have, technology we have to help us identify the perpetrator quicker, being able to give our officers advanced training that is unique just to this police department to make sure when we send them into those Coweta calls, we're going to go to 19 mental health calls today. We're going to go to 19 mental health calls tomorrow. We're going to go to 19 mental health calls the day after that is the average number of mental health calls we go to on a given day, is to make sure we're trained to respond to each of those. What we need is the help of the wider community, because we can't be in living rooms, and we can't be in backyards, and we can't be there when someone is angry and has quick access to firearms. So making sure that education and economic opportunities and stable home lives are present to be able to help us be in areas we can't be to keep the crime rate down in the city and moving in the right direction. That's why our App Promise Centers are so important. We have 3 of those that are working now that are here to support young men and women, teenagers in the 3 areas that I just stated. I think we're opening a 4th one very soon to be able to make sure that we are targeting the core causes of juvenile crime and crime in general.
When it comes to repeat offenders, I know you won't talk necessarily about what happened this morning, but we're hearing that maybe the person involved had a prior past. And you've talked in the past about the struggle with the courts and just how to help you help them and vice versa. Are you seeing improvement in that realm with courts and addressing repeat offenders?
So we are seeing moderate movement in the right direction. The Repeat Offender Commission actually meets in this very room 4 times a year to be able to look at the causes of why individuals are reappearing before the courts for very serious crimes. I'll give you some statistics I didn't use earlier. Last year, this department arrested 1,097 repeat offenders. Those are individuals that have been convicted 3 times or more for a felony. A very hard standard to meet. Those 1,097 individuals that this department arrested last year were responsible for 32,910 arrests among them. And those 1,057 individuals were responsible for 6,582 felony convictions between them. Almost all of our arrests last year, we made 4,685 felony arrests last year. A quarter of them were committed by individuals that should not have been on the street. Should not have been on the street. The courts have been put on notice they were dangerous. The courts have been put on notice that they were a threat to the community, and they were back out to offend again, and we made the arrest. And so it is a concern when individuals with egregious criminal histories, individuals that need the assistance of, sometimes it's social services, but sometimes they need to be out of the public, are back out encountering our officers. And I thank God that our officers are safe when they go and make these arrests. We had an officer yesterday. This got no media coverage. He was grazed in the leg, fighting with an individual that was a convicted felon, armed with a handgun, wanted for murder in our city from another jurisdiction. Fought him while he was there threatening to kill his girlfriend, was injured yesterday by that gun discharging, grazing his leg. That's what the men and women of the Atlanta Police Department do every day. I'm thankful for their bravery. I'm thankful they go home safe every day. And it does vex me when I see individuals putting our officers in danger in the community that should not be out on the street.
Chief, what about officer-involved shootings? How are those numbers? It seems like we're hearing more and more of those.
Yeah, we had 5 last year, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief Span, versus 8 the year prior to that. So we saw a reduction last year. I believe that was a reduction of the year before that. But we had 5 last year versus 8 in 2024. We continue to ensure that we look at every incident to train, to be able to develop better tactics for when individuals use violence toward our officers or the community. We're always working to be able to be in a space to ensure that our officers can navigate that. Many of the times it's the individual that we're confronting that actually has the most control. You saw a video of an individual that opted to throw his gun to the ground instead of opening fire on our officers. And that's what we want. You've been caught. We're going to hold you responsible. Don't pull that gun on our officers. Don't fire at our officers. We're going to have to react to that. And so 5 versus 8, considering over 1 million citizen contacts last year, many encounters with the citizens, we want to be in a position that we can affect every arrest with no violence being presented to our officers that they have to react to.
That Johnny Holloman case, would that have fallen under there as being an officer involved?
That was not an officer involved shooting, ma'am. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
All right, the time is now. Can I ask one question about the training center?
Yes.
They're open for about maybe a little bit over half a year, I guess, officially.
Since April, yeah.
Since April. I guess in such a short term, can you say or any benefits you've seen of it and positives that have come out of that?
Absolutely. We are getting ready now. I can't believe none of you asked about the World Cup. That's where my money was. So thank you. I'm going to get it out there. So we opened in April. Many of you were there. Many of you covered the saga as we tried to deliver, as we were working to deliver this vital resource to the citizens and our officers and firefighters. It has been busy. If you visit on any given day, it is difficult to find a park space. Almost every room is full because we are getting ready for the World Cup. We are training aggressively with our partners around all aspects of keeping that event safe. We have mounted patrols from Coweta County that are there frequently. Agencies across the state are there that's going to be helping us. We have over 200 recruits in training. Thanks to the investment around return of the pension, new pay scale, the training center has been mentioned by many who decide to join us. And so we are actively stretching the capacity of that center that had we not had the training center, we couldn't have 200 recruits in training. We just didn't have the capacity for that. We're seeing an improvement in our passing rates around driving because no longer are we going to 3 different locations to learn how to drive and to complete our driving training. We have it in one spot. And we're able to make sure that we're focusing on meeting the state mandate around safe driving. So we're seeing an improvement in recruiting because of the training center. We're seeing a better passing rate in certain key skill areas for our recruits, and we're seeing the ability to properly train for the World Cup, which, if you know, is just a little over 100 days away. We have our first game. So when you talk about the size of the police department, we have to continue to deliver police services during the World Cup. And a small police department can't do both, and we're going to be the right size to be able to do both.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming out.
Chief.
We're going to have them back.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you all.
Hi, Atlanta Police Chief Darren Shearbaum and the Atlanta Police Department leadership there. The chief saying that his singular mission since he's been appointed has been gangs, guns, and drugs. Comparing statistics dating all the way back to 2022, where Atlanta reached a 25-year homicide high, 171 homicides that year, compared to last year, which was the intention of this whole news conference, to roll out the 2025 crime statistics. Less than 100 homicides in the year 2025. Attributing that reduction in the number of homicides to the department's crackdown on gangs, guns, and drugs. And you heard from a couple of the commanders of each of those units, the weapons unit, the gang unit, who all spoke on their efforts and focusing in on those 3 things. He also talked about the new training center there toward the end and saying, if not for the new police training center, which had been so controversial as it was being built. You remember those people showing up in the woods and surrounding it and setting off incendiary devices to protest its very existence. Because of that training center, Chief Shearbaum said that they've been able to recruit hundreds more officers. He said that they've been able to get driver certified faster because they can learn how to drive on that very facility. And he also talked about the efforts for the FIFA World Cup coming up in June. At the end, saying, I'm surprised none of you asked me about FIFA World Cup, saying that they've been in training for months now in the lead up to that event, saying that they have brought in reinforcements from Cobb County Police who are now circulating around the Mercedes-Benz and downtown area in preparation for securing that event, and saying that that they are ready for when that happens. In other words, Atlanta is a high-profile stage. We not only have events like FIFA World Cup, but, you know, Super Bowls, big conventions, big high-profile events that take place in our city, yet something else that our police department has to be prepared for, attributing a lot of their success to Mayor Andre Dickens and the efforts that he's put in as mayor. All of this coming together to provide 2025 as being one of the lowest homicide years on record for that department. So a lot of ground covered there in that news conference. We still got a lot of ground to cover here in the 3 p.m. streaming hour. Meteorologist Jonathan Stacy is standing literally 2 feet away from me right now, ready to deliver the weekend forecast. Remember, it's a storm alert weekend. That means we're preparing for a huge winter blast that's supposed to roll through our area on Saturday and Sunday. Be with Jonathan when we come back. Welcome back to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're streaming on your mobile device, watching us at home, or on our YouTube channel at Fox 5 Atlanta, or listening to us on the radio at 107.9 HD2 FM. Certainly glad you're with us this afternoon. Took you to that Atlanta Police news conference where they were touting lower 2025 crime rates, talked about the lead up to the FIFA World Cup and the Police Training Center. Now we want to bring you to a heartwarming reunion, something we don't often get to hear about. A Paulding County man reunited with not only the deputy, but the EMT crews who were there to save him, showing the dramatic body camera video of that incident. Let's get out to Kevin Stewart here with the emotional reunion. Kevin?
Yeah, we're talking about Tim Gayton, 64 years old, resident of here in Paulding County, and today he had a chance to reunite with those professionals who saved his life. This was back on December 13th. I want to take you to Wellstar Paulding Hospital, where you can see all the hugs and emotion there. This was the first time they got a chance to meet up, and it's not unusual for law enforcement or any emergency personnel, once they rescue someone, help someone, they don't always know what happens on the back end. So this was definitely a great experience for both parties. Again, this happened back on December 13th. Mr. Gayton was shopping in Hiram at Walmart. He says he pulled out into the road out onto 278 and doesn't remember what happened after that. Next thing he remembers, he was in the hospital. But what ended up happening is he went into cardiac arrest and got into a car accident. Fortunately, a Paulding County deputy was not too far behind him and saw all this and jumped into action. And when he went inside and he saw that there was a problem, he began to perform CPR. I want you to listen to both men as they recall what happened that day.
They was fortunate. One of them was right behind me when it happened. He seen it happen, and he come out of his car and got me out of the truck and started CPR right then.
I go over to Mr. Gayton at the time. He's unconscious, not responding. I go to feel for a pulse. I'm not feeling any pulse, and at that moment I know something's wrong. From there, I pull him out of the vehicle. I lay him on the ground to better assess him. I'm still not feeling any pulse, and from there, I take his shirt off and start CPR.
Live every day.
Does that change your perspective now?
A little bit. You know, I always try to do right and spend time with my kids and my grandkids, so just keep doing that.
Yeah, he broke up a couple of times during our interview. We'll have a lot more for you coming up on Fox 5 News at 5 and 6 today. But what's really interesting here is that this is also caught on body cam, and some people might say, oh, well, so what? Don't most law enforcement agencies have body cam? Well, that's not the case in Paulding County up until November. In the last fiscal year, they budgeted for it, and they were all outfitted, the deputies, with body cameras. And this was one of the first major incidents that they caught on camera, and wanted to make this a big deal to show the tools that they have. And I made a point to ask Mr. Gayton about the use of the cameras, and he says putting that out actually shows how deputies, how anybody can do CPR and use as a training tool for other people in the community. So that's really interesting. We are waiting for that body cam to be released to us, but it's actually another way of looking at this story, a fascinating overall story that you can look at for so many different angles. Tom?
And Kevin, I was thinking when I was watching that, it's not only heartwarming for the person that they saved to be reunited with these folks who they saw in the midst of sort of life-threatening conditions, but it also is nice for these officers and EMTs to be able to come back together with their colleagues who they work with, and it's sort of a tip of the hat to them as well, and the hard work that they did, and it reminds them perhaps of why they're even doing this in the first place.
Yeah, this award ceremony, if you will, the deputies were presented with a certificate from Wellstar Hospital System. What's really interesting that you noted here, I ended up asking the deputy, why did you get into law enforcement? And he said, which isn't terribly surprising, he said, it's to catch the bad guys. And that's generally what we think of law enforcement, this is to catch the bad guys and that sort of thing. But he has learned in his 4 years in law enforcement, there's so much more to it, and the type of good work that you see here, that they were trained on CPR and they actually got a chance to use it. So when we talk about saving someone's life, it's not necessarily catching the bad guy, but actually performing CPR.
It's just such a special and touching full circle moment, not only for that gentleman whose life was saved, but for the deputy, the EMT, and all of their colleagues to sort of come together and acknowledge such a meaningful occasion. Kevin Stewart, Kevin, we'll see you tonight on Fox 5 News at 4. Thanks. All right, time to talk about the story that is on everyone's mind. Boy, If we could only kind of bottle this up and move it to Saturday and Sunday, that would be fantastic. But this skyline's going to look a lot different here in the coming days. And meteorologist Jonathan Stacy now here on the streaming set with me. You guys are so busy over in the Fox 5 Storm Center. You're not only on the air prepping people, but you're all over social media, Facebook, Instagram, here on Fox Local and the Fox Weather app, kind of talking about what you know now in terms of the winter weather that is headed our way.
Yeah. Our confidence grew overnight as new modeling came in, showing that the impacts for what will be a winter weather weekend were going to be not just minimum, but potentially devastating or destructive in some areas in terms of what is this going to look like. And it appears that the battle is going to all play out over North Georgia. So I want to kind of set the scene here and run through this early timeline. As we look ahead, we have sunshine today, sunshine tomorrow, but clouds streaming in. A few passing showers throughout the day, Thursday and into Friday. But by Friday night, that's when our lot in terms of what we've been getting from the skies will ultimately change to the winter weather variety. Follow the blues here. The blues will be pockets of snow, while the pinks will indicate a wintry mix, a variety of sleet and freezing rain possible, and then obviously the green indicating rainfall. So it looks like these three weather types could impact our area simultaneously over a 48-hour period. It's now Saturday, 6 a.m. rain for the metro area. Into the mountains, a wintry mix. As the day goes on here, you can see that area of wintry mix. It spans from the mountains down to middle Georgia, and it's 2 p.m. Saturday, and all of that moisture is locked into place, and it just keeps on coming. It's now midnight going into Sunday, and we still have wintry mix falling with temperatures below freezing on the ground. This is a major icing event. Throughout the day Sunday, that pink continues to fall. That's a wintry mix, folks, and it looks like it does not let up. 12 hours later, we're still dealing with the wintry mix, but some snow starting to drift southward over the Tennessee-Georgia state line. As we get deeper into the day, Sunday going into the overnight hours into Monday morning, it looks like the final band may be mostly consisting of snow. This is 10 o'clock Monday morning. Now school closures and delays are in conversation. That thin strip of wintry mix still alive and well. However, it looks like warm air is starting to nose in, mixing in with what will be a chilly rain. That continues through the first part of the day Monday. By Monday afternoon, a flake or a flurry may still fly. In terms of snowfall expectations, we need to level set here, folks, and it looks like the snow is going to be confined to the far northern tier. You don't see much that's impressive here, and that's because it appears that this will be more of an ice event that's brought on by freezing rain. We know that ice is not the same thing as snow, Tom, and so that means that this is not the fun winter weather that we would like to have, but this is problematic winter weather that could have a 24 to 48 hour window of which it consistently falls to the ground, impacting surfaces all across North Georgia, from middle Georgia into the metro, and of course the mountains getting the brunt of all of this as we get into the heart of the weekend.
So the map that you showed where just the northwest part of the state had that thin strip of blue, that was accumulation of snow.
That's accumulation of snow, not a freezing rain.
Does that mean that we're going to see sort of freezing rain down here, or we're going to get snowfall?
We
in the metro Atlanta area.
There, Ariel, were you able to pull that up? Okay, got it. We have something that I'm going to show you all in days to come. We use a couple of different weather systems around here. We're not able to access one of them at the time, but it shows us perfect. Somebody just made magic happen. Who did that?
There you go.
Okay, thank you so much.
Lori on Switcher.
This is the graphic of the day, Friday night into Sunday. There's a lot of uncertainty to the north of the metro area. How much snow will you get, and where will the cutoff line be? However, for the south side and points going into middle Georgia, you need to prepare for an ice event. There are a couple of things that I should point out here. It's first of all, we're in the heart of winter. No one is surprised by that fact. However, the trees are quite bare, and so you have branches, and with the branches, there's more surface area because you don't have leaves in which ice can get on the trees. A lot of ice over a 48-hour window of time can bring these branches down fairly quickly. So we're looking at trees likely snapping, and that will therefore have the antecedent issue of impacting the power grid. And so now we're talking about people being without power for quite some time. This is over the weekend. That already adds insult to injury. But then when you factor in that you could also have inclement road conditions, it's going to make it even harder for power crews to get to you. So we're telling people to go ahead and start looking at the things that you need to get, non-perishables, for sure, things that don't have to be refrigerated. You want to get some of those kind of things, stock up on them. Make sure any errands that you would need to run, even later in the week, you're doing those now, like getting certain medicines. Those things that you maybe want to do or need to do, but they may take 24 or 48 hours to actually do. Today's the starting point for those. By tomorrow, we'll have a good handle on the modeling, and I think we'll be able to tell you better times. I think we're going to have a good handle on the timing tomorrow. What I don't think we'll have a good handle on are the types. This could be an in the hour, by the hour call.
Okay. So you're going to learn more as the week goes on. But a couple of things that we do know is that when it comes to ice on trees, one day of an ice storm is one thing.
Yeah.
But when you have, I wrote some notes while you were talking.
You're looking at all the time.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, this is ice on top of ice on top of ice.
Yeah.
And that weighs down on the tree limbs.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
those could perhaps cause, as you said, power problems.
Exactly.
The other thing that we're undoubtedly looking at is school closures, maybe late Friday, so people can get their act together.
If the system were to speed up, if it speeds up, that means that there's likely some warm air associated with it.
That certainly Monday, Tuesday.
I think Monday, Tuesday is going to be.
Depending on how this thing pans out.
And I have a lot, this phone has been going off all day long. A lot of people asking me about travel. It's not going to be great, Tom.
Yeah. Unless you're leaving like Friday and not coming back till midweek next week.
Exactly. Think of it like that. I have people say, "Oh, I'm trying to get back Sunday." Well, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. And I think the airlines.
The airport does what it can to clear the runways and everything.
Exactly. They do what they can, but there's only so much they can do. So I'm telling people just today is the day of the ultimate plan B.
So, we know from experience, right? And Atlanta's had its share of ice storms, but the most profound and prolific one was Snowmageddon, where there was 3 inches of ice all over the interstates. Let's hope we don't repeat that and that we're treating roads and stuff, but are you seeing roads freezing over like that?
Well, I think the issue is going to be here is if this window of time that we're operating with, early Saturday morning to just say early Monday morning, if that is the fullness of the impact time period, the treatment is not going to last that long.
Yeah.
If it rains beforehand, how I was showing you, let's go back to this, Tom. Sure. I'm zooming through. I'm going to stop this and start it over again. Okay. So if that comes to true, okay, that's Thursday, Friday. So we're now at Friday night. Okay, so Friday's pretty much okay. But look at that. That's 6 o'clock Saturday morning. If you pre-treated the roads and then it rains.
It washes it all off.
Exactly. Yeah. Brine, salt, doesn't matter what it is. So the pre-treatment conversation is going to be kind of narrow because the window of opportunity, I don't see a window of opportunity if the air is still warm at that time of day, warm relatively speaking. And then when it gets to the surface, you have rain coming down. It's just going to wash away.
So this is going to be an evolving situation over the week. You, Joanne, David, Alex, you're all analyzing the models. I have never found myself dialed into the Fox 5 Storm Team weather app, Fox Local, watching you guys on TV as I am now, because it seems like with every forecast, you're learning something different.
Yeah. And what we're seeing is very compelling.
Yeah.
So hang with us, but I need you to start preparing. Today.
Good advice.
Yeah, today. Yeah.
Jonathan, thanks. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. Want to say thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Want to show you the big board. New York Stock Exchange, Dow Jones Industrials touching nearly 1,000 points in the red today after the president reignited his trade war with Europe and the issue over Greenland. That sent stocks in a nosedive today. The market closing here in about 3 seconds. Want to thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Stay with Fox 5 for continuing coverage of our Storm Alert weekend this weekend, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.